Forget the iron crowns and the blood-soaked banners of the battlefield, because the real architect of our world was never a man on a horse, but the silent, cold clink of coin shifting in the dark. We're taught that history is a series of brave charges and tactical genius. Yet, if you peel back the tapestry of every fallen empire and every rising republic, you find that the ink of the ledger was far more lethal than the edge of the sword. Imagine the Roman legion, those ironclad giants who marched from the fog of Britain to the sands of Egypt, believing they were fighting for the glory of the Senate, when in reality they were tethered to the debasement of the silver denarius. When the emperors began to shave the edges of their coins, mixing lead with the silver to pay for an army they could no longer afford, the empire didn't fall to barbarians, it dissolved because the money lost its soul. This is the hidden pulse of the human story, a narrative where gold is the ultimate ghostwriter. Think of the Crusades, often painted as a holy collision of faiths, but look closer and you see the Venetian merchants in the shadows, calculating the cost of the ships and the price of the silk, effectively redirecting an entire holy war to sack Constantinople just to settle a debt. The knight may have held the cross, but the banker held the keys to the harbor. As we move into the age of discovery, the myth tells us of brave explorers seeking the edge of the world, but the reality was a desperate hunt for liquid capital to fuel the skyrocketing interest rates of European monarchs who were perpetually broke. The Spanish Empire, flush with the silver of Potosi, thought they had conquered the future, yet they became the first great victims of inflation, drowning in a sea of precious metal that they didn't realize was making their own economy worthless. While Spain spent, the Dutch sat in their counting houses and invented the joint stock company, birthing a monster that could outlive any king, the corporation. The Dutch East India Company wasn't just a business, it was a private state with the power to wage war and execute prisoners, all driven by the relentless pursuit of a dividend. It was the moment power transitioned from the divine right of kings to the cold logic of the balance sheet. Consider the American Revolution, often framed as a philosophical struggle for liberty, but at its heart, it was a rebellion against the central bank's grip and the suffocating weight of colonial scrip being outlawed by the British Crown. The Founding Fathers weren't just debating Locke and Rousseau, they were panicking over a credit crunch that threatened to bankrupt their estates. Then came the Napoleonic Wars, where the little corporal rearranged the map of Europe with his military brilliance, only to be strangled by the deep pockets of the City of London and the Rothschild family, who could move gold across borders faster than Napoleon could move his artillery. The Battle of Waterloo wasn't won solely on the ridge at Mont Saint-Jean, it was won in the bond markets, where British credit remained unshakable while the French treasury was a hollow shell. We see this pattern repeat through the Industrial Revolution, where the steam engine was the heart, but capital was the blood, flowing into the coal mines and the textile mills, creating a new class of merchant princes who could buy and sell the influence of the old aristocracy. The Great War is remembered for its trenches and gas, but it was essentially a war of attrition, financed by the massive shift of global wealth from the old world to the new, as the United States transformed from a debtor nation to the world's primary creditor, a shift that dictated the terms of the peace and the eventual rise of the American century. Even the collapse of the Soviet Union, often attributed to the triumph of democratic ideals, was more accurately a surrender to the reality of a bankrupt command economy that couldn't produce a toaster as efficiently as it could a nuclear warhead.
When the oil prices plummeted in the 1980s, the Soviet dream simply ran out of cash. Today, we look at the rise of digital currencies and the high-frequency trading that happens in the nanoseconds between heartbeats, and we realize that the sword has been replaced by the algorithm. Yet the rule remains the same. He who controls the flow of value dictates the boundaries of reality. History is not a drama of heroes and villains. It's a cold, calculated game of who can pay the bill when the music stops. From the grain banks of ancient Mesopotamia to the silicon corridors of Wall Street, the narrative of our species is a ledger of debts, interests, and the pursuit of a currency that can outlast the grave. The kings are gone, the armies are now buttons on a screen, but the money remains, the silent sovereign that has ruled us since the first human traded a shell for a stone, proving that while we might die for our beliefs, we live by our gold. This is the true chronicle of power, a story not of who was right, but of who was solvent. For in the court of time, the only crime is being broke, and the only virtue is the ability to pay the piper. As we look toward a future of decentralized finance and global debt crises, we must realize that we are just the latest chapter in a book written in decimals and interest rates, a story where the most powerful weapon ever devised wasn't the atom bomb, but the compound interest that builds empires and the debt that destroys them. Every monument we admire, from the pyramids to the Burj Khalifa, is less a testament to human spirit and more a physical manifestation of a massive accumulation of capital, a permanent record of who held the purse string at that specific moment in time. We are the subjects of a kingdom that has no borders, no flag, and no faith. A kingdom of commerce that has outlasted every dynasty and survived every revolution. To understand why the world looks the way it does, stop looking at the monuments to the victors and start looking at the receipts they left behind. The truth of our existence is hidden in the price of bread, the interest on a loan, and the exchange rate of a dying currency, for these are the invisible threads that pull the puppets of history. We are all participants in this vast, ongoing auction, bidding for our place in a world where the only real power is the one that can be deposited, transferred, or hidden away in a vault. The story of humanity is the story of the hunt for more, a relentless drive that has pushed us across oceans and into space, not for the sake of curiosity, but for the sake of the profit that lies over the horizon. When the final history of Earth is written, it won't be a list of dates and battles, but a final balance sheet showing exactly how much we spent to get here and how little we have left to give. Proving once and for all that while kings may claim the land and armies may occupy the streets, it is the money that truly owns the soul of the world and the direction of its destiny. We are living in the shadow of a financial architecture that was built brick by brick over millennia, a structure so vast and all-encompassing that we often mistake its walls for the natural horizon. Every tax code, every trade agreement, and every currency peg is a chain that links us to the past and dictates the possibilities of our future, ensuring that the wheels of history keep turning in the direction of the greatest return on investment. The transition from gold-backed certainty to the ethereal world of fiat currency and digital credits hasn't changed the fundamental rule. It has only made the ruling power more abstract and therefore more absolute. We march to the beat of a drum that is struck by the hands of central bankers and hedge fund managers, a rhythm that determines which nations prosper and which ones starve in the dark. It is a world of leverage and liquidity, where a single keystroke in a skyscraper can cause more devastation than a carpet bombing, and where the most important resource isn't oil or water, but the trust that a piece of paper or a digital digit will still hold its value tomorrow. This is the reality of our reign, a silent monarchy of math and greed that has outmaneuvered every rebel and co-opted every revolutionary, turning even the most radical movements into commodities to be traded on the open market. To know the future, one must not read the stars or the polls, but the bond yield and the commodity futures, for there lies the blueprint of what is to come, a cold and calculated map of the next empire's rise and the current one's inevitable foreclosure. The era of the king is dead. The era of the soldier is fading, but the era of the money is just beginning its most sophisticated phase, a total integration into the very fabric of our consciousness, where our worth is defined by our credit score and our legacy by our assets. It is a heavy truth to bear that our grand human drama is essentially a commercial enterprise, but once you see the strings of gold, you can never go back to believing in the simple myths of the history books. We are the currency of the universe being spent by forces we barely understand, in a game that never ends, and where the house always, eventually, wins.